Hi and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Susan and I'm very new to the booktube space and making book videos, so I thought today I would do the mid-year book tag. I'll be honest, nobody's tagged me but I thought it would still be fun to do anyway. So if you've not yet been tagged but you really want to do the half-year book tag video, I'm tagging you. I don't know who originally created the tag and I don't know 100% which questions are the original tag. I've watched a few of these videos and everyone is answering different questions. Some of them are the same and some of them are different and random, and I've just tried to pick some that are like relevant to me. I've watched one video where she did like 10 which were like from a different tag that she watched, and then she added 10 questions of her own. So I haven't counted actually how many questions I'm going to do, but we'll just see how I go and see how I answer. I don't want to answer too many that are like the same, similar questions or have the same answer too much. So let's get started. I have them on my phone, questions on my phone. The first question is, how many books have I read this year? I haven't really read too many books. I think I've read 14 books this year. My goal is 30. I feel like a lot of people on BookTok, BookTube, Bookstagram have really big reading goals and they read so many books per month. Honestly, I would love to be like that. I would love to read so much, but I don't have time. I do have time, but I like to scroll on my phone. So I need to stop scrolling so much and reading more. It's partly why I thought bringing like a book element to my YouTube channel would help me read more books, but this is fairly new. So far I've only read 14 books out of 30. Those are the books that we're going to be talking about. Those are the books I'm going to be categorizing in this tag. So if there's repeats, I'm sorry, but I haven't read that many books. If I could read more than 30, that'd be amazing. At the moment, I'm averaging around 2 books a month, and one of those books every single month is my book club book. I have read 6 book club books so far, and a few of those book club books are going to be featured in this video, of course. Okay, what is my favorite book of 2024 so far? This is such a hard question because I've read so many good books this year. I've definitely read some bad books. I'm not going to say that I liked every book that I read because I didn't. I'm going to say The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I think that's how you say it. The Night Circus. It was so good. It's basically about a circus, obviously. It's about these 2 people who can do magic. They are chosen as children to be pit against each other for a competition. The story like kind of goes across the years. It follows multiple different people. It was just super visual. I feel like I could imagine the circus, and the circus is kind of like their playground where they create new tents in the circus. They basically play off each other with their magic. There's just some really great storylines. All of the characters are really interesting and there's just so many elements in it, and I think it was just such a good book, and it was a standalone. I guess it's a fantasy because it's all to do with magic. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. Everyone that I told that I was reading it said that they really enjoyed it, so that was one of my 5-star reads. It was so good and I would honestly recommend people to read it. I think it's nice to have a story that is like a standalone, not part of a series. I do love a fantasy series, but there's always a risk that the first book is just going to be a setup for the second book, and that's not so enjoyable. Whereas when it's just one book, it's like you get the complete whole story. You don't have to worry about a cliffhanger. Yeah, I really enjoyed The Night Circus. The best sequel I've read this year would have to be the ending of Throne of Glass. To be honest, this year so far I've read a lot of the first book in a series and I haven't read many sequels so far. I did finish Throne of Glass this year, so I read the whole series, but I started at the end, or the middle actually, I think, of last year. And this year I did the tandem read, and I also read the last book, which was Kingdom of Ash. I'm gonna say that one was definitely the best. The Tower of Dawn, not my favorite, but because I did it as a tandem read, I think I enjoyed it more. Empire of Storms was good, but the ending, the finale, it was really good. A new release that I haven't read yet, but I want to. Okay, there's actually loads of books that I really want to read because I am not the fastest reader. I feel like my TBR gets like really big really quick because I just can't keep up with the amount of books that come out and the books that I want to read. One of them is The Heartless Hunter / The Crimson Moth. I think it has a different name in different countries. I'm not sure which one is in the UK, but they're the same book with 2 different names. I think that The Crimson Moth is the name of this series, at least, and then in some places it's called The Heartless Hunter, and in some places the book is called Crimson Moth. I see it everywhere. I see people reading it and I want to be involved. Enemies to Lovers, Witch and a Witch Hunter. I feel like that's definitely going to be good. Also, one that I want to read is When the Moon Hatched. I was going to read it with my book club. It was like a potential book club pick. It has 700 pages. And honestly, a 700-page book that you need to read in like 3 weeks for a book club is just a bit too much. But I do have the book because it was £1 on Kindle and I had to buy it because it's new. It was going to be very expensive. I think that is a book about dragons. Something that makes me really want to read books is 1, the cover, 2, people talking about it, and 3, the name of the book. If it sounds like a good book, looks like a good book, then I probably want to read it. I don't read too much into what the book's about and the blurb and everything because I quite like going into books blind and I like not having too much of an expectation of what's going to happen, and I feel like that makes my reading experience a bit better because I'm not thinking too much about what's going to happen next, or like something that it's not a spoiler if it's in the blurb of the book, but it can feel a bit like a spoiler if you already know something is going to happen. Like about it being enemies to lover, like now that I know that is going to happen at some point. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I like to go into a book partially blind. Another one that I'm actually quite interested to read is A Fate Inked in Blood. It's like a Norse fairy tale, I think. Again, I think all of these books are the first book in a series, but they all came out this year. I definitely want to read those 3. I am honestly loving fantasy. I'm in such a fantasy mood, a fantasy era. It's always what I want to reach to pick up, and I have read some other types of book. Yeah, fantasy is just always what I come back to, and they're the books that I enjoy the most. So yeah, that's 3 books that I want to read this year that came out this year. There's loads of books that I want to read that didn't come out this year. We'll have to wait and see if I do read them. Who is your favorite new author, debut writer, or someone who is new to you, new to me? So this is either someone who has like written their first book and I've read it, or someone who I've just not read before and now I love them. 3 of the books that I read were by Sarah J Maas, so she's not new to me. Do love her. But I think I would say it is Adrian Young. I read The Unmaking of June Farrow for my book club and I loved it. Everybody loved it. It's one of the only books that we've read and everybody enjoyed, which is really nice because most of the time we find something in a book to complain about. And that one we all really enjoyed. There were some elements of it that like didn't make sense or weren't like the best, but it was really good. It was really interesting. It was quite different to what I've read before, and I now want to read her other books that she's written. I think one of her famous ones is called Fable. That's good. Then I'll read another one and I would hopefully read her whole backlog of books. The most beautiful book that I have bought / read this year for me, honestly, is Fave. Oh, the sun. I think it's so nice. What I don't like though is that the fact that the actual book itself is bright red, and I like to read my hardbacks without the sleeve on because I don't want to ruin the sleeve, and it was just a bit much, a bit bright. But with the cover on, I think it's so nice. I like the little moon, trees, and like once you read it you kind of understand and visualize what all of this is. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite, most beautiful book cover that I've bought. The others are okay, but some of the ones that I want to read have amazing covers. Like I said, sometimes the books I want to read is based off the cover. What books do I want to reread? Throne of Glass. I would love to reread Throne of Glass. I don't think I will anytime soon just because it was such a massive book series. It took up so much of my time. Maybe the second time I would read it faster because I know what's going to happen already, but I would love to relive that. Other than that, I'm not sure. Maybe The Night Circus. I did really enjoy it, but I feel like part of the magic is lost when you have read a book already and you know what's going to happen. It doesn't hit the same. I'm actually currently rereading a couple of different books because I thought it would be fun. Honestly, if you follow me on Goodreads, you'll see that I'm reading so many books right now because I'm kind of like a mood reader where I just read what I feel like reading, and certain things will happen, or like a film will come out or someone will say something that reminds me of something that I've read before and I decide I'm going to reread it, and then I don't get very far in the reread but it's still showing on my Goodreads as a book that I'm reading. But right now it says I'm reading 7 books, which is not really true. Really, I'm reading 2 books, but the others are like partway done. But the 2 that I'm rereading right now is Midnight Sun, which is Twilight told by Edward, and I'm listening to it on audio but Audible. Being inside Edward's head is so creepy. I kind of don't like listening to it. I just wanted to reread it because I've read Twilight so many times. Honestly, watched the film, read the book so much. It's like one of those things that I love. Like every year I like to rewatch, and I think last year I reread them all. And then Midnight Sun came out. I've only read it once. Edward is a creepy guy. And especially with him like in my ears, some of the stuff he says is just like so, it makes me feel so creeped out. So yeah, I've not actually got very far on that reread. And then the other book that I'm rereading is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is the Hunger Games prequel. I started rereading it after I watched the film in the cinema, so that must have been at the end of last year. I got 14% through, and then I kind of just forgot about it and I stopped reading it. But now she's actually announced that she's releasing another Hunger Games book, so I probably will finish that reread before that book comes out. I think it's coming out next year, so I've got a long time to finish my reread. I'm not the biggest rereader of books. I have reread some books, like I said, Twilight, but just so many new books that I want to read. There's so many books that I haven't read yet that I would like to read. How many books have I rated 5 stars this year? I'm gonna have to count them. I've been really giving mixed reviews this year. I've got a couple of 2 stars. I don't think any of the questions are asking about the books that I didn't like. I've done a lot of 2 and 3 stars, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it looks like 3 is my average rating here. Okay, I've given 4 books a 5-star. The Night Circus, Faybound, Emperor Storms, Kingdom of Ash. So 2 of the Throne of Glass books, Faybound and The Night Circus. Faybound is a really good book that I just said has the most beautiful cover, and it was a book club book that people did not like. They did not like it. Me, I do see what they were saying. There was very obvious plot things going on. The author really tells you everything. You don't have to guess what's going to happen next because she's going to tell you what's going to happen next. But I really enjoyed reading it. I liked the vibe. It's like really like gender fluid, and I feel like it was really like inclusive of a book, and I quite like the world that it was set in. There is definitely flaws in the book, and being in the book club, like I said, there's always something to complain about, and when people start complaining about a book, I feel like it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, you have some points. That is true. I just didn't even really think about that because I was just enjoying the vibes of reading the book, so I gave it 5 stars anyway. Even though the other people, they didn't really enjoy it, but I stuck to my guns and I've given it a 5-star on Goodreads because I enjoyed reading it. I think I'll read the next one. To be honest, usually I reserve a 5-star rating for a book that I'm going to read again, but like we've just discussed, I'm not a big rereader, and most of the books I rate 5 stars I probably won't ever read again. It was good. I enjoyed it. I did do a lot of 2 and 3 stars though. A book that made you cry and a book that made you happy. I don't think I cried. Oh, actually, I did cry during the Throne of Glass series, probably more than once. And a book that made me happy, I would have to say Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. Kind of like Bridgerton vibe with fairies. It was really good. There's like magic. There is like formal dinner, dresses and big parties, and it was really like wholesome and nice. And I feel like that book made me happy. Like there was a few moments when I was reading it, I was like smiling and I was like, oh, it's so cute or whatever. So I really did enjoy reading that one. So yeah, I think those are my 2 cry and happy books. Okay, honestly, I think that is the majority of the questions. Some of them are like, or your newest book crush or like your newest book boyfriend. Honestly, I'm not reading books that have like a book boyfriend vibe of them. I'm not the biggest romance girl. I don't mind a romantasy, but I don't want the fantasy to really be like the main plot. I can tell you what I'm currently reading though. I'm currently reading Bridgerton, which is a funny thing to say after I say I don't want romance to be the main plot. I don't like it. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like it. I'm reading this because I watched the TV series and I loved it. I literally watched it so quick. I was watching like 3 episodes a night back to back. I did season 1, I did season 2, I did Queen Charlotte, I did season 3, part 1. Then I had to wait only 1 week, I think I had to wait. Then I did part 2. And I finished it and I was like, wow, that was so good. Let me try and read the book. But the book is so different. I did see a few videos on TikTok about it, and people were saying how it's not the same, but it's really not. It's like just not modernized at all. Everybody is white. There is no queen in the book. There's no diamond of the season. And it's really weird. There's a point where like Simon's like, I own you, you're legally my wife. And that for me is just like, oh, I don't like it. I don't want this. I don't know, the feminist in me hates this book and it's just nowhere near as good. So I think I'm gonna rate that a 2-star. I'm gonna finish it. I'm 80% through, but it's really just not my vibe. I'm not gonna read the rest of them. I think there's 7 or 8. I'm just gonna wait and see what happens in the TV show because it's so much better. And then I'm also reading for my book club. I've taken the cover off, but this is quite a nice hardback cover, to be honest. It is Where the Dark Stands Still. I don't know if you can read that on there. This is my book club book of the month. I'm this way through and I have, I think, 2 weeks before the book club. And so far so good. I don't feel as strongly about this as I do about the dislike I have for Bridgerton. It's about a girl and a demon. Is he a demon? And she's basically makes a deal with him. She's just trying to figure him out right now. I don't know, it feels like a romance, but I don't know 100% if it is a romance or not. But whenever the description of the book talks about a female character and a male character, it always feels like they're gonna be together. Obviously that's not always true, but I'm like, there's a reason why they're mentioning both people, and they're kind of like enemies. So I think it's kind of like an enemies to lover fantasy book, but I might be wrong because I haven't finished it. I'm kind of going in blind, and yeah, that's the book club book. So those are my 2 current reads, and I think that's it for the questions. Honestly, I didn't read that many books, so I couldn't give too much into this tag, but as you can see, the sun is setting. My room is starting to get dark and it's time for me to say goodbye. So thank you so much if you've watched all the way to the end of this video. Make sure you give the video a like if you have enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more bookish videos from me. Let me know if you have any suggestions for book related videos that you want to see, any book recommendations. Anytime someone recommends me a book, I add it to my TBR, so yeah, let me know. Follow me on Goodreads if you want to see what I'm reading. I'm hoping now that I'm doing these book videos every week that I'm going to read more books and be able to share more thoughts and reading vlogs and stuff. So make sure you subscribe. I will see you very soon for another video. Bye.